I've been hearing really good things about Realist. Can you show me or show us
Yeah.
what's so great about Realist?
Well, I have to say it is good, but it's also, we also have a similar version. It's the same data in Matrix. So I'm going to show you both.
Okay.
So back out here on the main screen, if you want, you can come into Realist instead of Matrix. Realist is public records. I think we have something like 42 counties, and we're going to be adding some more counties around you guys. You can also get there through Matrix. So I'm going to go back over to Matrix and just show you up top. Realist is also right here. So I'll show you how to get there, but then I'm going to come back and show you in Matrix that we have something called public record. So you could do search public record. It's the same information, but Realist has kind of more. So it depends on you and what you like. Sometimes more is too much. It depends on you. So I'm going to click on Realist. And again, I could have gone there right from the portal. Probably as a start, you might come up here and change the county. I think the default might come in as Onondaga County for some reason. So you can come up here and click change county. And you can have multiple counties. Here's all the 42 counties. So if you want to kind of always be looking in Otsego County, that's fine. That must be what I tested last time I was in here. But you can change it on an as needed basis. As you can imagine, it's every parcel in the county. So it's a lot of data. So you don't want to just have 40 counties over here. It's too much. So you can pick a couple or one and then apply that. It'll show you up top that multiple counties are picked if you have more than one. And so I'm hovering up there and it's telling me, okay, I have Delaware and Otsego. But it's tons and tons of records. So it's a quick search is the tab that we see. So if you had an address or an owner name, you could pop that in there right now. If you wanted to do a more in-depth search, you can click over here to My Search, and you can do, more fields. And if there's a field that you can't find to search, you can click this Customize Search button, and you can see all the fields that we have to choose from. So if you want to be able to search for owner occupied, you just check that little box, and it'll be in your list. And then I'm going to apply that. So it's just our little list. There it is on the bottom now. But I'm just going to show you a quick search. So if I do that 60 deets that I was searching in, I don't even know what county that is, but I'm going to assume one of your counties. It's telling me on the bottom how if it found any, and it did find the one. So I'm going to click search. It's actually opening the report on that one, but I'm going to go back for a minute. It'll show it to you on the map right there. I have mine set to just show the map, but you can also do split. So if you had done all of Deet Street, for example, all the parcels would show, and then Deet Street would be up here and all the parcels would be marked. You can adjust your screen how you like it. By the way, we're going to be getting a new option, not mandatory, in Matrix to be able to search this exact same way. I'm testing it now. So for people who like this concept of typing stuff in and immediately seeing what it's finding over here, that's going to be an option for us. But anyways, here's the property. It's got a little green arrow, a little green marker on it, and we'll soon learn that green means active listing. So if I come back here, I'm going to just come back and do all of Deets if I can. So there's 43. There's all of Deet Street, all the properties, and see all the colors. We can see that one active listing. We can see these red sold listings. So those sold in the MLS, And then these black ones are just, there hasn't been any MLS activity, but it's still a property on deeds. And if I move this up a little bit, you know, we can kind of go through all those properties if we want.
And
And
I
so
see-
it's really nice. You
I
can
see
kind
that
of
it can,
walk. Go
I
ahead.
see that labels and or exportation can be, can occur for this list, say. for
Yeah,
instance.
exactly. So if you wanted to export those 43 properties,
Yeah.
right now I have this little check mark, so they're all checked.
Yeah.
And I hit labels, I can make mailing labels out of that. And I can pick home address, property address for who the owners are. We can do that in Matrix too. The thing about labels, so you pick your label style, for example. Do you want mixed case or all caps? Do you want the billing, the tax ID, so where the owner gets the bill, or the property address, because maybe it's not owner occupied? And then do you want the owner's name to show? Or do you want it to say, if not, it might say owner or occupant? And then I'll just do these real quick just to show you. So
Jane,
here's
what's
my-
the purple on the map? If that's a,
I'll go back and look. I think it might be foreclosure, but anyway, you look how quick I just popped
Nice.
those up.
Nice.
My
And you can see, I picked owner tax ID mailing, so this person doesn't live on deeds. It would actually go to where their tax bills go. So a couple of these, they don't live on deeds, but I could have chose to just really send it to all the deeds addresses if I want. That's one way, but in Realist, I think there's a limit of, I want to say 5,000 label or exports per month or labels, but in Matrix, we don't have that limit on the labels. So let's look at that purple. Expired.
okay, thank you.
So you'll get to know those colors. And then the other thing is, when I
Is there,
said,
is there a legend for those colors, or you just click on it? and
no,
see?
I don't think so.
Okay, okay.
But if we start looking at this column, like right here, ooh,
Oh,
let me go back to my one line. There's other columns here.
Yeah.
So if you hover, it always just tells you, okay, that one's
Nice.
sold. But there's like pre-foreclosure stuff too. So if there were any of those involved, they would be showing in these columns and we could get that information too.
Nice.
Once we decided on a property, and by the way, if I go back to this map, which you can do the whole, just the map, split, just the list. So it's kind of flexible. If you do just the list, you can do these little cards, or you can do the one-liner. So, you know, you can mess around with that, but I'm going to go back to that map for a minute, because the other kind of neat thing is you could be, well, you could just be on the map and say, okay, what's this one? Oh, okay, that's that owner. Oh yeah, I know that guy, whatever. Or I want to go to the full report. Or if you just look at some of these things, I want to see the parcel dimensions on that one. Ooh, that's cool.
Very cool.
Or what about this one now? I want to see about this one. Oh, that guy owns that. Okay, well, what's the parcel dimensions on that one? So, you know, you can kind of do some fun things on these maps, but you know, we have a lot of that right in Matrix too. So if we were going to search public records over there, well, we also have that. So I'll show that to you, but there's different map layers we can turn on. I have the parcel layers on at all times. I'm going to turn it off. It's kind of unexciting without them, I think. So I always have my parcel layers on because I like to see them. But you could also add some of these, you know, other things like school districts. You know, these are all only on to city. But if I kind of scroll out, we could see where the district changes. Somehow I'm not scrolling out far enough. Keep scrolling. And eventually we would be out of Oneonta and to whatever the next district over is. Wow, that's a big district. Oh, here it is. So we could see where those lines are, but just, you know, some of these different ones. So it's telling me I gotta zoom in more if I really want to see the parcel boundaries, because they go away once you zoom out. Same thing for zoning. So I will zoom back in. Oops. and my parcel boundaries will come back. That's a nice thing. And you know, there's different drawing tools. Of course, you could draw circles and squares and omit. That's, I think, nothing new to any of us that have been doing this a while. But if we want to visit one of these properties, so let's go back to that 60 deeds. I think it's this active listing. We can go right to the report from here. I'm going to go back to the split list for a minute too. And you can sort these just by, you know, if I went to the listing here, you can also just, you know, double click on it to get to that full report. What's on this tab, the property details tab, is pretty much what we see in Matrix on that public records tab, which I'll show you. I'll look 60 deeds up and I'll show you, you know, all this same information would be in the public records tab. Then we have a like history tab that might show like the past market sales, if there was any, if there's foreclosure. We have that stuff in Matrix. What we don't have is the rest of this. So it depends on where you're searching. If it really is, you know, in the city or in a town that's fairly, you know, not so rural, you might have neighbor information or a neighborhood profile. The assessor maps, you know, may be of interest definitely to the appraisers. Some realtors like that stuff. We have the flood maps in Matrix. I kind of like them in Matrix better than I like them in Realist, but they have a fancy one here too that you can go to. And then hazards and risks. That's not as big for our area where we don't have all these tornadoes and hurricanes and stuff, thankfully. But hazards and risks, you can pay extra for a report on. It's really wildfire crimes, but I don't think it's as interesting for our area. So I'm going to go back to property details. If you had multiple listings, I'm sorry, if you wanted to look at multiples of these, you can scroll through them there too. The export, I'm going to just click on that real quick. I'll do a custom export. It's telling us we have the 5,000. I did those 43 labels already, so it's counting for me. And it's really just, you know, so you can't take the whole database and, you know, let everybody and their uncle in there and use it in some way in Excel. So they limit you somewhat. And again, in Matrix, the labels don't count towards your exports. So if you really were a label person, you can do them over there too, and I'll show you how. But you would come in here and, you know, pick what it is you wanted to export. You can set up exports. Like here I had owner and property address. Here I had owner and mailing address. You can create a new export and come in here and pick the fields you need. Give it a name up here, and then you could export whichever those fields are, up to 5,000 records per month. In Realist, the month resets like the first of the month, like you would expect. In Matrix, it doesn't. It's very hard to say when the month starts because it starts different for each person based on when you start using it. It's a little complicated, but most of us aren't exporting that way, so it's not really a problem.
Yeah.
Question?
Is there's no links to get the documents like the deeds or the bills out of this system now, is there?
There is not.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I was
So
hopeful.
that's Realist. And I used to say, this is such a different way of searching.
It's
Maybe
beautiful.
you want to look for public records in Matrix, but now, as I mentioned earlier, we're actually getting a search in Matrix that looks like this. And you will be able to switch back and forth. It's not going to be mandatory. So I don't know. I feel like some people might like this as their primary way of searching, and other people are going to be like, I am not doing that. So I'm going to go back to Matrix and just show you the difference. So here we go, search public records. At one time, they dumped all of the public records into Matrix, and I think Realist was maybe going to go away, but then they changed their mind because there's so much other data there, like those assessor maps and the neighborhood stuff. So now we just have both. So anyway, I'm going to click public record, and it's kind of cool because up here is kind of like your basic public record search, but down here, it can also search the MLS data at the same time. So you could say, you know, I want everything on Dietz Street. And it's telling us there's 73. Now there could be more than one county involved. I might want to say Otsego County to try and narrow that down. Or if I was doing like a main street. So now I'm getting my 43.
Yeah, changed.
And I just typed that in up there, which was nice, but I could say, but the last sale date was, you know, not in the last 3 years. I only want to look for people who sold, you know, or I could say, I want to see everything on Dietz Street that's active, or, you know, whatever it is you wanted to see. I'm just going to look at all of them. But the idea is that you could pull some of this MLS-y stuff into that search. So I'm going to search my 43 properties. It looks just like a matrix search, except for instead of a listing number, it gives us the property ID. Those colors are the same: red for sold, green for active, purple for expired. Pending is probably yellow, so nothing's pending on Dietz Street. Just like a lot of in matrix, you can sort, you know, like I just clicked on the address to sort that address field. You can sort by owner name if you prefer. You can rearrange these columns just like in the matrix search. And then if you click on this property ID, which I'll go to 60 because that's the one we were talking about. I click that property ID. This public record is that same information we saw in Realist, except some of the data is in other tabs. So like the history is going to be here, the parcel maps here, the flood maps here. So instead of one long report. If there was an MLS listing, which we see there is an active one now, we can go to the last listing tab, which happens to be a current listing. If it was 5 years ago, it would show it to us. We can see all the listing photos, history, just like our searches. This one doesn't have anything prior to that current listing. So maybe the prior owner or the current owner has owned it a long time. Parcel maps, these are similar to what we saw in Realist. And I don't know if you've looked at these parcel maps much, but if you were going to add a listing, or if you were going to edit one of your old listings, because you didn't get to that yet, and you just come here and search public records for that property, the second map always gives you your parcel dimensions. So that's interesting. This is always a satellite. This one's always parcel. The big one on the bottom is just a bigger one. You can zoom in on it. You can do that walk the block thing where you could be like, oh, who owns this one? And if you click on it, it will tell you. You could go to public records or right to the tax database, which would take you over to Realist if you wanted to see some of those other reports, just on any of these. So that's called walking the block, seeing what else is out there. But this is the public records too. If the flood map, here's the ones that we have here in Matrix. All the information's up here. It's not really in a flood zone. If there was the foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, it would show in this tab. Just like the tabs we're used to on a listing. So it's an option. I think I've been using it more myself just because I'm already in Matrix. So I just pop in here to search the public record. Questions or comments?
Well, that was good.
Okay.